Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey, I think, into the world of natural bioactive compounds
hmm
and, how they've become so central to modern medicine. You might actually be surprised how many drugs, well, they basically started out in nature.
Absolutely. We've got some great research here that really illuminates this connection.
Yeah, our mission today is sort of unpack this relationship, understand why nature has been such an incredible source for medical breakthroughs.
Exactly. We're looking at these naturally occurring chemical substances. They're in everything: plants, animals, fungi, microorganisms, even.
Right.
And they have these powerful biological effects on our bodies. These aren't just, historical footnotes. They're the foundation for a huge chunk of the medicines we use today.
Okay, let's dig into that a bit. Bioactive compounds. What are we really talking about there?
Think of them as chemical messengers produced by living things. And they can interact with our cells, our tissues, trigger specific responses. It's nature's toolkit of molecules that can profoundly affect living systems.
And these natural compounds, they make their way into medicine in a couple of main ways, don't they?
Precisely. Yeah. Sometimes we use the compound directly, just as it is as a drug.
Like straight from the source?
Pretty much, yeah. But other times, scientists look at that natural structure and use it as like inspiration. They modify it in the lab
To make it better somehow.
to make it more effective or maybe more targeted or safer. It's about harnessing nature's cleverness and then, refining it with science.
So it's definitely not just finding a plant and boom, you have a pill. There's a whole journey involved.
Oh, absolutely. It usually starts with identifying a natural source, maybe something used traditionally that seems to have a beneficial effect.
Right, like in folk medicine.
Exactly. Then comes the really critical work: isolating the specific compound, doing the work, purifying it.
Getting rid of all the other stuff.
Right. And then studying it rigorously. How does it work? Is it safe? Is it effective?
Mm.
The natural compound itself might become the drug, or its structure might just be the template, the starting point for chemists to build a synthetic drug with maybe enhanced properties.
It really highlights that powerful link between, say, traditional knowledge, centuries of using plants for healing, and modern scientific investigation. It's not really one or the other.
No, it's a dynamic interplay. It
Yeah.
really is. This conversation between traditional use and scientific validation, it's a major driver of pharmaceutical innovation.
Yeah.
It just reminds us there's this huge library of potential medicines out there in nature, and honestly, we're probably still just scratching the surface.
Makes you wonder what else is out there.
It does. Maybe focusing more on understanding these natural systems could unlock totally new ways of thinking about treatments, things we haven't even dreamed up synthetically.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
These natural bioactive compounds. It's not just one big blob, right? There are different categories.
Yeah.
Families of compounds.
That's a crucial point, yeah. We can group them based on their chemical structure, how they're made by organisms, and the statistic is quite striking. About half, roughly 50% of all approved drugs today. They're either directly from nature or inspired by it.
50%. Wow. That really underlines how important this is. So what are some of these key categories?
Well, a major group is the alkaloids. These are compounds that contain nitrogen atoms in their structure.
Okay.
And many of them have really noticeable effects on our nervous system and how we perceive pain.
Alkaloids.
Oh.
Okay, like morphine, the painkiller.
Exactly like morphine. It comes from the opium poppy, one of the most powerful pain relievers known. It basically works on those pain relief pathways in the brain.
And codeine. That's related, isn't it?
Yes, codeine is a milder cousin, you could say, also from the poppy, used for less severe pain and also helps suppress coughs.
What about quinine? I know that was used for malaria. Is that an alkaloid too?
Correct. Quinine from cinchona tree bark was absolutely vital against malaria for a long, long time. Then you have others, maybe less famous, like atropine from deadly nightshade used in surgery, eye exams,
Okay.
and vincristine from the periwinkle plant, which is important in some cancer treatments. So, yeah, alkaloids are a really impactful group.
Definitely sounds like it. The
Mhm.
nitrogen-containing alkaloids, powerful stuff.
Mhm.
What's another key category?
Another big one is the terpenoids. These are built from smaller repeating units called isoprene units.
Isoprene.
Yeah. They're often behind the characteristic smells of many plants, those aromatic properties.
Like essential oils and things?
Some of those, yes. But beyond the aroma, many terpenoids have potent medicinal properties.
Like artemisinin. The malaria drug you mentioned earlier, that must be one.
Absolutely. Artemisinin from sweet wormwood, it totally changed malaria treatment, even led to a Nobel Prize.
Incredible impact.
Huge impact. Then there's Taxol. Its other name is paclitaxel. Comes from the Pacific yew tree bark.
Right, the cancer drug.
Exactly. A major chemotherapy agent for many cancers.
And I've read about ginkgolides from ginkgo biloba trees. Are they terpenoids?
Yes, they fit in this category too. Ginkgolides show promise for protecting nerve cells, maybe enhancing memory, so there's research looking into them for things like dementia. Terpenoids are really diverse.
Okay, so we've got alkaloids affecting nerves and pain, terpenoids with smells and diverse uses. What's next?
Next up, let's talk about phenolics and polyphenols. These are characterized by having phenol ring structures. Think fruits, vegetables, tea, wine. They're packed with these.
And they're known for being antioxidants, right?
Very much so. Antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties are hallmarks of this group.
Ah, like resveratrol, the one you hear about in relation to red wine.
Precisely. Resveratrol found in red grapes, berries, even peanuts. It's been studied a lot for potential heart benefits, maybe even anti-aging effects.
Interesting.
And then there's curcumin. That's the bright yellow compound in turmeric.
Right, everyone's talking about turmeric lately.
Well, curcumin has significant anti-inflammatory effects, and there's ongoing research into its potential anti-cancer properties, too.
And EGCG in green tea. Is that one of these?
It is indeed epigallocattin gallate, or EGCG, a powerful antioxidant in green tea, also being looked at for cancer prevention potential. Phenolics and polyphenols are a really broad, beneficial group.
Okay, and you hear the term flavonoids a lot, too. Where do they fit in? Are they separate?
Good question. Flavonoids are actually a very large and important subgroup within the phenolics and polyphenols category.
Ah, okay, so they are polyphenols.
Yes. They're plant-based, responsible for many of the vibrant colors in fruits and flowers, and they have significant therapeutic potential themselves.
Can you give us an example or two?
Sure. Quercetin is a well-known one, found in onions, apples, berries.
Okay.
Research suggests it might help reduce inflammation, fight allergies, support heart health, and interestingly, it can act as a zinc ionophore.
The zinc what?
Ionophore. It basically helps zinc get inside cells more easily.
Yeah.
That's potentially useful, for example, in antiviral research.
Fascinating.
Any others? Hesperidin is another good example, found mainly in citrus fruits, especially the peel.
Like in oranges.
Exactly. It seems to have vascular protective effects, helps strengthen blood vessels, and anti-inflammatory properties, too.
Wow, okay. We're really building a picture here. Alkaloids, terpenoids, polyphenols, including flavonoids.
Yeah.
What else is in nature's medicine cabinet?
We should also mention glycosides. In these molecules, you have a sugar part attached to a non-sugar part.
A sugar attached. How does that help?
Well, that sugar component can really influence how the compound is absorbed by the body, how it's metabolized, where it goes. It changes its behavior.
Okay. Like digoxin. Isn't that a hard drug?
Exactly right. Digoxin from the foxglove plant is a classic cardiac glycoside used for heart failure.
Right.
Then you have saponins, found in things like licorice root and ginseng. They can have immune modulating effects.
Modulating. Like
Yeah.
balancing the immune system.
Sort of, yeah. Helping it respond appropriately. And another type, anthraquinones, found in aloe and senna, they act as natural laxatives, so that sugar attachment really matters.
Amazing how one little change makes such a difference. What about things the body makes itself, like peptides and proteins? Are they considered natural bioactive compounds in this context?
Absolutely. Peptides and proteins, essentially chains of amino acids, perform countless biological jobs. Their specificity makes them incredibly valuable as medicines.
Like insulin.
Insulin is a perfect example. Originally sourced from animal pancreases, now mostly synthetic, but it's a protein essential for regulating blood sugar. Glucagon is another peptide hormone, does the opposite, raises blood sugar. And think about monoclonal antibodies.
The engineered treatments.
Exactly. They're engineered proteins designed to target very specific things like cancer cells or parts of the immune system in autoimmune diseases based on natural protein structures.
That's really cutting-edge stuff, still rooted in biology. What about fats? Lipids. Can they be bioactive?
Oh, definitely. Bioactive lipids and fatty acids are a diverse bunch. They influence inflammation, brain function, heart health. Think omega-3 fatty acids.
From fish oil and flaxseed.
Right. Well known for heart protection, anti-inflammatory effects, brain health. Then there are prostaglandins, made in our body from arachidonic acid.
What do they do?
All sorts of things involved in labor induction, protecting the stomach lining, regulating inflammation. And we can't forget endocannabinoids.
The body's own cannabinoids.
Exactly. Produced by us, involved in managing pain, appetite, mood. Even phospholipids, the main components of our cell membranes, have therapeutic uses, like in liver support or drug delivery system.
It's incredible, the range of effects. And the last major category you mentioned was steroids.
Yes, steroids. Another class of really potent compounds. They have significant effects on inflammation, immunity, metabolism.
Like corticosteroids for asthma and stuff.
Precisely. Corticosteroids are related to our natural cortisol. Powerful anti-inflammatories used for asthma, autoimmune diseases, preventing transplant rejection. Then you have the sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, used in hormone replacement, contraception, some cancer treatments. And interestingly, many medicinal steroids we use actually start life as plant steroids.
Really?
Yeah, like diosgenin from wild yams. It can be chemically converted into other steroid hormones in the lab. It's a precursor.
So this amazing diversity, alkaloids, terpenoids, phenolics, glycosides, peptides, lipids, steroids, all from nature. How do we actually get from, say, that yam or that poppy to a pill in the pharmacy? What's that journey?
It's a really fascinating pathway. Often it starts with traditional knowledge, doesn't it? Generations observing that a particular plant or substance has an effect.
Right, trial and error over centuries.
Exactly. That traditional use can then spark scientific discovery. Researchers try to isolate and identify the specific active compound responsible.
Pinpoint the key molecule.
Precisely. From there, it moves into pharmaceutical development. Rigorous testing for safety, effectiveness, figuring out the right dose, the best way to formulate it.
Clinical trials and all that.
All of that. And finally, if it passes muster, it gets integrated into modern medicine as a standardized, reliable treatment. It's quite a path.
As you said, a huge number of our current drugs followed that path, or one like it.
Over half, yeah. Directly derived or inspired by these natural compounds, it really underscores the debt modern medicine owes to the natural world.
Absolutely. Now, we know what they are and where they come from, but how do they actually work inside us? What are the main mechanisms of action?
This is where the biology gets really intricate and, frankly, amazing. They don't just do one thing. They interact with our bodies through a whole host of pathways.
Influencing different systems.
Exactly. They can influence a wide range of biological processes.
Can you give us some examples of these mechanisms?
Sure. Many compounds significantly affect our immune responses. For instance, beta-glucans, which you find in mushrooms and yeasts.
Right.
They can actually activate certain immune cells, kind of like putting them on alert, helping strengthen defenses.
So boosting the immune system.
In a way, yes, or modulating it. Flavonoids and omega-3s, for example, can help regulate cytokines.
Those are signaling molecules, right?
Right. Immune cells use them to communicate. By influencing cytokine production, these compounds can help dial down excessive inflammation, for instance. And some compounds, like those in echinacea, might enhance phagocytosis.
Of phagocytosis.
That's the process where immune cells literally engulf and destroy pathogens like bacteria, so helping the cleanup crew work better.
Okay, so they can tune the immune system up or down. What about inflammation itself? That seems central to so many conditions.
It is, and many natural compounds have potent anti-inflammatory effects. Some work by inhibiting key enzymes involved in the inflammatory cascade,
Like
curcumin from turmeric or salicylic acid, the natural precursor to aspirin. They can inhibit enzymes like COX or signaling pathways like NFBA, which are crucial drivers of inflammation.
So stopping it at the source.
Or at key steps, yes. Others might block the action of inflammatory mediators themselves, like certain cytokines or prostaglandins, basically applying the brakes at different points in the process.
And antioxidants are always mentioned. How do they fit in?
Antioxidant protection is another major mechanism. Our bodies naturally produce unstable molecules called free radicals during metabolism.
Reactive oxygen species.
Exactly, and these can damage cells if they build up. Antioxidant compounds, think flavonoids, vitamin C, many polyphenols can essentially neutralize these free radicals.
Yeah.
by donating an electron, stabilizing the radical molecule before it can cause damage. This helps protect cells and tissues, which is thought to reduce the risk of many chronic diseases linked to oxidative stress.
Okay, that makes sense. What about fighting infections? Do natural compounds have antimicrobial properties?
Oh, definitely. Nature has developed its own antimicrobial defense systems, and we can harness those. Allicin from garlic, for example,
Gives garlic its punchy smell.
and its antimicrobial effect. It can disrupt the cell membranes of microbes. Essential oils, like from tea tree or oregano, can interfere with microbial metabolism.
Stop them from functioning properly.
Right. Some compounds can block viruses or bacteria from replicating. Others can prevent microbes from forming biofilm.
Biofilms.
Yeah.
Those slimy protective layers.
Exactly. They make infections much harder to treat. So preventing biofilm formation is a really useful strategy. Nature has a whole arsenal.
It's amazing. Nature fighting nature in a way.
Yeah.
And I've heard about compounds influencing our genes.
Epigenetics.
Yes, that's a really exciting cutting-edge area. Some bioactive compounds seem to influence gene expression and epigenetic regulation.
How does that work?
While compounds like resveratrol, curcumin, green pea polyphenols, they might interact with proteins that control which genes get switched on or off.
Like master switches.
Sort of. And they might also affect epigenetic marks, chemical tags on DNA, or associated proteins that influence gene activity without changing the DNA sequence itself.
This ability to tweak fundamental cellular processes at the genetic level, it has huge implications for health and disease, though we're still learning a lot about it.
It's incredibly complex. These natural molecules are doing so much. Okay, let's make this more concrete. Okay, we'll walk through some key plant-derived bioactive compounds that became major players in conventional medicine. We touched on some.
Let's start with a classic, morphine, from the opium poppy. Still a gold standard for severe pain.
How does it work again?
It binds to specific receptors in the brain and spinal cord mu opioid receptors, activating our natural pain relief pathways. But of course, there's the significant downside. Addiction potential and tolerance. Needs very careful use.
Right. And codeine, also from the poppy.
Yes, codeine is chemically related. It's methylated morphine, milder, used for moderate pain, coughs. An interesting point is it's a prodrug, meaning it has to be converted into morphine in the liver to become fully active. This relies on an enzyme called CYP2D6. And people have genetic variations in this enzyme, so some people get little effect from codeine, others might convert it too quickly and risk toxicity. It highlights individual responses.
That's fascinating. Okay, what about quinine, the old malaria drug?
Quinine from cinchona bark, absolutely essential for centuries against malaria. It messes with the parasite's ability to handle a toxic byproduct when it digests hemoglobin in our red blood cells.
But it has side effects.
Yes, a collection of symptoms called synchonism, and unfortunately resistance became a major problem.
Which led to artemisinin from sweet wormwood.
Exactly. Artemisinin became the modern frontline treatment. Its mechanism is different. It seems to generate damaging free radicals inside the parasite.
Fights fire with fire almost.
You could say that. We now use artemisinin-based combination therapies, ACTs, to try and slow down resistance. But even resistance to ACTs is now a growing concern. It's an ongoing arms race.
Definitely. Okay, we absolutely have to talk about paclitaxel or Taxol, well, the cancer drug.
Yes, paclitaxel. Originally from the Pacific yew bark, a game changer in cancer therapy. It works on microtubules.
The cell's internal scaffolding.
Right. Paclitaxel stabilizes them, gums them up, essentially preventing cancer cells from dividing properly. They die off.
But getting it was hard initially, wasn't it? From the trees.
Very. The trees grow slowly, and you needed a lot of bark. Thankfully, more sustainable methods like semi-synthesis and cell culture were developed.
Good. And then there are the vinca alkaloids, vincristine and vinblastine.
Yes, from the Madagascar periwinkle. Also, key chemotherapy drugs, especially for leukemias, lymphomas.
Do they work like Taxol?
Similar target microtubules, but they work differently. Instead of stabilizing them, they prevent them from forming properly. Also essential for cell division.
Interesting.
And what's also interesting is, although they come from the same plant and target the same structures, they have slightly different uses and side effect profiles. Shows the subtlety involved.
Definitely. Okay, digoxin from foxglove for the heart.
Yes, digoxin's a cardiac glycoside, used for centuries, really, for heart failure and certain arrhythmias like atrial fibrillation. It inhibits a crucial pump in heart muscle cells, the sodium-potassium ATPase.
What does inhibiting that pump do?
It indirectly leads to more calcium inside the heart cells, which increases the force of contraction, helps the heart pump more strongly, and can help regulate rhythm. But it has a very narrow therapeutic window.
Meaning the dose has to be just right.
Exactly. Too little, it doesn't work. Too much, it can be toxic, causing things like visual disturbances or dangerous heart rhythms. It needs careful monitoring.
Got it. And finally, aspirin. Everyone knows aspirin, but its roots are in willow bark, right?
That's the story. Started with salicin from willow bark. Aspirin itself is acetyl salicylic acid, a synthetic derivative, but inspired by nature. It works by inhibiting the COX enzymes.
Which reduces.
Prostaglandins. These are involved in inflammation, pain, fever. By reducing them, you get aspirin's anti-inflammatory, pain-relieving, fever-reducing effects. And importantly, its antiplatelet effect, preventing blood clots. Still vital, though we watch out for risks like stomach issues and Ray's syndrome in kids.
It's truly incredible how many cornerstone medicines trace back to plants. But plants aren't the whole story, are they? Microbes have given us some blockbusters, too. Let's dive into some microbial-derived bioactive compounds.
Absolutely. Microbes, fungi, bacteria are like tiny chemical factories. Penicillin is the obvious starting point from the penicillium fungus.
Changed everything.
Utterly revolutionized bacterial infection treatment. It's a beta-lactam antibiotic, stops bacteria from building their cell walls properly, won a Nobel Prize, deservedly. But the shadow hanging over it now is widespread antibiotic resistance.
A huge challenge. What about lovastatin, the first statin for cholesterol? Was that microbial?
Yes, it was. Lovastatin was found in a fungus, Aspergillus terreus. It inhibits a key enzyme in the liver called HMG-CoA reductase, which is needed to make cholesterol.
And that led to all the other statins.
Exactly. It kicked off a whole class of drugs that have dramatically reduced cardiovascular disease risk for millions. Though, like all drugs, they have potential side effects, muscle pain, liver issues, and interactions to watch for.
I've heard about something called monocolin K in red yeast rice. Is that related?
It is. Monocolin K, found in red yeast rice, which is rice fermented with a specific yeast, is chemically identical to lovastatin.
So it's basically a natural statin.
Pretty much. But because it's often sold as a supplement, the dose can be variable, and it carries the same potential risks and interactions as prescription statins, something people need to be aware of.
Good point. Okay, cyclosporine, the immunosuppressant for transplants, microbial too.
Correct. Cyclosporine was discovered serendipitously while screening soil fungi for antifungal properties. It turned out to be a potent immunosuppressant.
How does it suppress the immune system?
It inhibits a key pathway involving a protein called calcineurin, which is crucial for activating T cells, a type of immune cell heavily involved in transplant rejection. So it dampens that rejection response, also used for autoimmune diseases.
Amazing discovery. What about doxorubicin, the chemo drug?
Doxorubicin is an anthracycline antibiotic, originally from a soil bacterium, Streptomyces pescius. It's a widely used cancer drug.
How does it fight cancer?
It works mainly by intercalating, meaning it wedges itself into the DNA of cancer cells, interfering with DNA replication and repair. It also inhibits an enzyme called topoisomerase II, but it's notorious for potential heart damage, cardiotoxicity.
Serious side effect. And lastly, ivermectin. Huge impact on parasitic diseases.
Huge. Ivermectin also comes from a Streptomyces bacterium. It's incredibly effective against parasites, causing diseases like river blindness, lymphatic filariasis.
How did it kill the parasites?
It targets specific glutamate-gated chloride channels found in the nerve and muscle cells of invertebrates, but not mammals generally. Binding to these channels paralyzes the parasites, another Nobel Prize winner for its impact on global health. Microbes are truly powerhouses.
Just astounding sources, plants and microbes. Now, you mentioned earlier that sometimes the natural compound itself isn't perfect for use as a drug. Maybe it doesn't get absorbed well or has side effects. That's where synthetic analogs come in, modifying the natural structure.
Exactly right. Chemists often use the natural compound as a starting point, a scaffold, and then make specific changes to its structure in the lab.
Why do that?
The goal is usually to improve something, maybe enhance its potency, make it work better at a lower dose, or improve its bioavailability, how well it gets absorbed and reaches its target in the body, or maybe reduce side effects, make it safer, or even make it last longer in the body. It's about optimizing nature's design.
Okay, let's take resveratrol again from grapes.
Yeah.
Have scientists made analogs of that?
They have, yes, because while resveratrol shows promise in lab studies, its bioavailability isn't great. So researchers have created various analogs. Some, like FAS21, are being looked at for anti-cancer effects. Others are designed to be more stable or have stronger antioxidant or anti-inflammatory activity, trying to harness its potential more effectively for diseases.
What about gingerol?
From ginger.
Similar story. Gingerol has interesting anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Synthetic analogs like A6G have shown promise against metabolic syndrome in animal studies. Others are designed to be more specific inhibitors of inflammatory enzymes like COX2 or just better antioxidants. Potential uses in arthritis, metabolic issues.
And hinokiol from magnolia bark.
Yep, analogs are being explored there too. Some show better antibacterial activity, maybe for oral health. Others, like one kind W007b, seem to have neuroprotective effects in lab models, and some are designed as anti-angiogenic agents.
Meaning they stop blood vessel growth. Right, which could be useful in cancer therapy, starving tumors of their blood supply. Lots of different angles being explored by modifying that natural hornicule structure.
And curcumin from turmeric must be a big target for this, given its absorption issues.
Absolutely, prime example. Curcumin has fantastic potential shown in countless lab studies, but getting enough of it absorbed into the body is a major hurdle. So chemists have been very busy creating analogs.
Like what?
Things like EF24, GOY030, ASCJ9, RL197. These are just code names for synthetic curcuminoids designed for better potency, better stability, better absorption. They're being tested for everything: cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, inflammation. It really shows that synergy between nature's discovery and laboratory refinement.
It really does, taking nature's blueprint and improving it. So if we zoom out again, could you give us a quick summary of the main health benefits we see from these natural bioactive compounds overall?
Sure. Broadly speaking, for cardiovascular health, we see benefits from omega-3s, flavonoids, things that reduce inflammation, improve vessel function, maybe lower bad cholesterol. For cancer treatment and prevention, you've got alkaloids like vincristine, terpenoids like Taxol, various phenolics. They work through many different mechanisms to target cancer cells.
Right.
For anti-inflammatory effects and pain relief, things like curcumin, the basis of aspirin, salicin, certain essential oils offer natural options.
Good for chronic conditions.
Exactly. For cognitive function and mental health, flavonoids and omega-3s keep popping up as potentially beneficial for brain health and mood.
Mm.
And for immune support, we talked about beta-glucans from mushrooms, polysaccharides from ginseng or algae compounds that seem to help modulate and support the immune system's function. It's a really wide spectrum of activity.
So clearly, these aren't just historical relics or fringe supplements. They are deeply embedded in modern healthcare, aren't they?
Absolutely. They're used as mainstream drugs, sometimes as alternatives, sometimes as complementary therapies alongside synthetic drugs. They're particularly relevant for managing chronic diseases long term, and there's definitely growing interest, both from the public and researchers, in their role in preventive health and wellness through supplements and diet.
Yeah.
It just reinforces how much potential still exists within the natural world for addressing our health needs, even in the age of high-tech drug design.
This has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive. It's incredible to trace the journey of these compounds from, a plant or a microbe right through to essential medicines.
It really is.
So many drugs we rely on have these surprising natural origins. And it's clear this isn't just history. The search for new natural and nature-inspired treatments is very much alive and kicking.
Indeed. It truly makes you pause and think, doesn't it? Given the sheer biodiversity of our planet, the millions of species we haven't even fully studied, what other medicinal treasures might still be out there?
Waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. What future breakthroughs are hidden in the complex chemistry of a rainforest plant, or a deep-sea sponge, or a soil microbe? It really encourages us to keep exploring, keep respecting that intricate relationship between nature and human health. You have to wonder, what other secrets does nature hold that could completely revolutionize medicine as we know it?